Hey guys, welcome back. I'm here today to give you a progress update on the orthodontic treatment. And things are going well, but not always easy. I'm going to be keeping it real. About 4 weeks after my last appointment, I was attempting to get some food out of my bracket on the bottom left-hand side, the one that wraps around my crown. And got my fingernail underneath there and then popped right off. I was like, oh no. So I kind of tried to put it back on quickly, but they use this tool. I mean, the band is molded to the shape of your tooth, and then they use this tool that you bite down on that kind of shoves it down into your gum a little bit. And it didn't go back on easily, and I wasn't sure just how much force I wanted to put on it, especially since it is a crown and I didn't want to screw that up. So I left it off. This happened on Thursday night. I called my orthodontist Friday morning, and the office was like, well, he's not in today. He won't be until Monday. And I was like, well, it's not connected to the wire. It is, there's a bit of a space here still, and it was too big of a space for him to go across with the more flexible wire because that has more bend to it. And so if food is pushing down on that, it's likely to pop out. So this one thankfully wasn't connected to the wire yet. So I was like, I don't think it's a big deal. It wasn't connected to anything. It's just off. Part of me was wondering why we even put it on before it was connected, but I guess maybe he just wants to be done with all the bracket applying and have me get used to them all and then, do wires as we need. But anyways, it was kind of torture when it first went on. And it took me a while to realize that I was in pain and going crazy trying to get used to it, and it wasn't even attached to anything. So I'm like, why are we doing this now? But again, I didn't ask him. That was just my thought of his reasoning. So I was like, well, it's not the end of the world. It's not connected. I'll hold on to it, bring it in Monday. Sunday night, I was eating some ice cream with M&Ms, and you may or may not realize, but when you put M&Ms in ice cream, they freeze pretty solid. And I bit down on something hard, and I thought, ooh, I don't think that was an M&M. Took it out, and that was another bracket. So on the top right-hand side is the only other bracket in my entire mouth that is also not connected to a wire. Because again, I have that big space, which is where the implants will go when the braces are done. So thankfully, here I am with a missing bracket and a band now, but neither one of them were connected to any of the wires. All of the wires and everything that were doing what they were supposed to be doing were completely intact. So I'm like, all right. So I go in Monday, I'm like, by the way, here's another one now. And he did say, he's like, I can tell when someone ate something hard and that's why the bracket came off, because the bracket will be gone, but the glue will still be there. So I'm like, oh, you're right. It's exactly what happened. Not that he yelled at me or anything, but he was just like, we know this is why this happens, because he's got experience. So he put this bracket back on, and he put this band back around the bottom molar. Now this band is the one that has a bracket on the outside and that kind of spike bracket on the inside that rubs against my tongue, or my tongue rubs against. That's like a tongue twister. It was like I said, it was very annoying when he first put it on. It took me a long time to get used to it. It kind of drove me crazy. So when it came off, I thought, well, I've had it on for a long time now. I'm sure it'll be no problem. I'll just pop back on. It'll be great. Boy, was I wrong. It was like having it on for the first time again. It drove me crazy. And it's like, the bracket on the outside's whatever. My cheek gets a little annoyed for a few days. That's no big deal. But the one on the inside that rubs, my tongue rubs against. So even if you swallow, your tongue moves. If you talk, your tongue moves. If you try to move food around your mouth, your tongue moves. And every time my tongue moves, it's raking across this thing. And it's like, I don't know who designed this. I think they were a little bit of a sadist, maybe. But so I will say that was a pain in the ass having to get used to that all over again. I was shocked at how hard it was, considering it had only been out of my mouth for 3 days. So there was that, and now we're going to be real careful with that from now on. But he also said when I was there, he's like, your next appointment's in 2 weeks, so keep that appointment. Come back again in 2 weeks because I think you're going to be ready. We'll change the wires out. And we'll go to the next wire up, which is more rigid. So I was like, yay. So I came back in 2 weeks, and he did end up changing the bottom wire to the more rigid wire, and he did connect it all the way to the back now. So there is kind of a space where there's just that wire in between, which my cheek doesn't really like very much. You know, when you're chewing and swallowing, it creates suction in your mouth, and my cheeks keep getting raked over the over the wire and bit, and a lot of cheek biting again when it was first adjusted. What is with that? I don't understand, because, you know, it goes away a few days, a couple weeks. This time it took a little longer, but I really don't know why that is. I guess the mouth just needs to get used to where the teeth are as they move. I don't know, but that part's very frustrating also. The cheek biting when you're trying to chew. Oh, so crazy. Painful, not fun. Again, thankfully it doesn't last that long, but it happens pretty much every time there's a major change, and it is it's just another level of fun. So this isn't, you know, super easy, guys. I don't want to sit here and pretend that the whole thing is just a breeze. I mean, that is the point of my coming and telling you guys this. Now, I also don't want to come on and film like the day that I'm miserable or like right after, because my point is also not to scare people out of doing it. I'm going to come on here and be real and tell you there were a few days of discomfort, and, you know, it is what it is. It's still worth what I'm doing. Just trying to keep it real. The bottom wire, that was a big adjustment also. So it's kind of weird. When he doesn't change wires in between appointments, you know, they take everything out. I get a real good flossing in while I'm there, which feels awesome. And they put the same one back on, and I leave, and, you know, I kind of feel the same. But when they change wires or change things, then there's definitely an adjustment period. And there's, you know, there's a period of pain and discomfort where things are moving more. And I kind of like that in a way, which is weird. That's the weird part. Because in between, I know things are still moving. They're just moving much more gradually, which is nice because it's not extremely painful. It's very gradual. But when we jump like in one day from one wire to the next or something like that, and things move, you really feel it. And there's just a part of my brain that registers that that's progress. So every time I'm like, oh, like we just made a big move again. It's annoying, and I have to deal with it, and I have to adjust to it again. But I also like the fact that I know that we're getting somewhere. That's kind of strange, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So yeah, the bottom wire got changed, and for, I want to say, oh, it was probably a good 3 or 4 days this time. I could not really chew solid food. The first day, I think I had a banana and a yogurt, maybe some oatmeal. The second day, I had another yogurt, and then for dinner I had some salmon and some overcooked broccoli. And I was very happy about it. But yeah, after 3 or 4 days, that goes away and things settle down, and then, you know, then you've got 5 weeks before anything like that happens again. So it's good. It comes in stages, and it's not constant, but those moments in between really kind of punctuate, you know, the progress that we're making. So that's good. We are getting somewhere. I'm kind of glad now that we didn't do the top wire and the bottom wire on the same day, because I think I'd rather adjust to one and for a few days, and then next time adjust to the other one and have another few days that are uncomfortable. I could be wrong, but I feel like if I did both at once, then it's just twice as bad. Now, maybe it's twice as bad and it's over in a couple days instead of going through it twice, so it's faster. whatever. I just know that I think I'd rather take it half at a time. Um, but if they do both at once, I'll find out and I'll let you know. And I will go through both at once because I'm not going to say no if that's what it comes down to. When he's like, this is what's happening this time, then I'll be like, great. And I'll come back and I'll tell you how it was having both done at once. But for now, I think I was probably better off only having one wire switched. So there it is. Whew, progress is definitely being made. I do need to ask him about my space. It was something that, like I've said, I never minded. I always had a space, but it was never this big. The teeth clenching and this, losing teeth and things moving has made it bigger. And it was funny because when they first went on, it seemed like it closed up pretty quickly. Like not all the way, but I could see movement in it pretty quickly. And I was a little surprised, but pleasantly surprised. But it does seem like since then it's gone back and hasn't moved anymore. So it may just be because not all of the wires are connected. I don't know, but I need to ask him about that because I haven't talked about that. I've just been kind of going in and being like, here I am, what do you think? And he does his thing and then I say thanks and I leave. But I have got a few questions this time. So next time I go in, I'm going to ask him about that, if he thinks that it is where it should be, if he's happy with the progress, or, what was the plan for when that would close. But yeah, definitely progress being made. Definitely happy that I can chew again. And I can feel, he did say that trying to get my bite, from being like this back to being like this, he said half of it would be to move the top in and the other half would be to move the bottom out. So now that we finally got a rigid wire on the bottom and I felt that real movement, I can definitely feel the difference in where my teeth come together. So that's cool. So I can definitely tell that it's working, and we are over 7 months in now. So I like to think that we are halfway there. He said originally between 12 and 16 months. So anywhere between, 6 and 8 months, and we're at 7.5. So I like to think either way, we're at least halfway there. I'm excited about that. I am getting to the point where I'm like, all right, we still doing this? How much longer? Like in the beginning, it was just so new and everything was just an adjustment. And, each time I go, there's adjustments. But in between, it is starting to be like the newness is wearing off. Sometimes that's great because I'm just used to it now and I don't have issues with them. But sometimes I'm just like, ugh, can we be done? Like, when do we get to be done? So, there is that element starting to creep in a little bit. Not a lot, not often, but occasionally. So again, just keeping it real. But like I said, we're halfway there. So at least I got halfway there before I started to get antsy. And I will come back and let you know what happens next. Take care, guys.